Amigos, ¿cómo están? Este es Carlos Oñoro de Historias Rockeras y del baúl de nuestras grabaciones, de nuestros recuerdos, les traemos una entrevista extensísima y completa que hicimos con Oscar Dronjak, guitarrista fundador y uno de los compositores más importantes de la banda Hammerfall. Él nos concedió esta entrevista el año anterior a la pandemia, 2019, casi 2 años. Y bueno, a pesar de que está completamente en inglés, no quiero traducirla con mi voz. La idea es que pues se escuche la voz de Oscar. Y adicionalmente, pues la idea es que esta entrevista, porque también está en video, pues esté con subtítulos en otro lugar. Pero bueno, mientras eso sucede, pues no queremos desperdiciar la oportunidad de presentárselas. Así también sirve como de ejercicio para practicar nuestro listening. Entonces nada, sin mayores preámbulos, esta es una entrevista de cuando el podcast se llamaba 17 Bastard Songs of Metal, pero hoy ya se llama Historias Rockeras, pues debido a que la palabra bastard como que despertó cierta molestia en alguna plataforma de contenido. Así que nada, este es Oscar Dronjak de Hammerfall, aquí en Historias Rockeras, antes 17 Bastard Songs of Metal.
Hi, this is Oscar from Hammerfall, and you're listening to 17 Bastard Songs of Metal.
Dear Oscar, it is a great pleasure and honor for me to be finally interviewing you.
Thank you.
Back in the day, 1996, the world of underground metal was a different animal. Without internet, we may basically think there was some mental power who got everyone together around good metal music that wasn't advertised anywhere. Also, it was a different music world, at least in my opinion. Without enough processing power, underground metal bands were limited sonically as the revolution of digital recording was only sprouting. Underground metal was death and black metal territory. It looks somewhat the Black Album also killed thrash metal for a while, and mainstream heavy metal was basically on the freezer. Melody was slowly returning to metal, and there was a movement in Gothenburg that was flirting with more melody, but still being extreme metal. There is a name of a Studio Friedman, and a name of a person, Fredrik Nordstrom. Later in time, he and his studio would be the core of the sound development of a music revolution in sound and style. But with ceremonial oath, as early as 93, you happened to be the first act and release officially produced there. And you share co-production credits, if I'm not wrong.
I think so.
Can you give us a personal glimpse of those times and some history that you lived in that moment?
Well, it was the thing is, I've known Fredrik since the 80s. We had his band. His band was called the Snakeskin Cowboys back in those days, and we were rehearsing at the same place. So that's how we got to know each other, and. I think this would have been maybe late 91, early 92, that Ceremonial Oath got the record deal. And I think Fredrik has just started working with another studio together with the guy. And so sort of basically it was called Rainy Day / Studio Fredman. So Rainy Day was the owner, the other guy, and Studio Fredman was Fredrik. And they sort of did a collaboration in the beginning. That was his first venture into any kind of recordings, I think. And so we got the deal, and he found out about it somehow, and I don't know exactly how it went about, but he gave us a really good deal. I mean, a good price for I don't know how many weeks we spent, but 3 or 4 weeks, and we didn't have that much of a recording budget. So it was like a learning experience both for him and for us. And this turned out to be the first death metal album that he ever produced. He didn't even know what the music style was beforehand. I remember he told me many years later, obviously, but he said that the first time I saw you guys, we came to the rehearsal room and you guys were playing, and we thought somebody was getting killed in there. So we sort of peeked through the keyholes, like we saw you guys you were at the microphone screaming, and the other guys were, banging their heads and thrashing around. And we thought you guys were lunatics. He said he thought we were lunatics because he had no previous knowledge of the music style that was death or thrash metal. So that was
he wasn't a metal guy.
No, not at all. He was more. I mean, he's I guess maybe 5 or 7 years older than I am, or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. He's a bit older anyway. So he was more into rock music, I guess you could say. I mean, he likes metal music, of course, too now. But I don't think he was into metal before that. Not that much, anyway. Not like a strict metal guy, at least.
All right. So it was 93. Is it accurate to say that you were one of the first Swedish metal Gothenburg bands who got signed?
I don't think so, no. I mean, there were, you had At the Gates, and of course Grotesque before that. But there were others, I'm sure. I can't really... I'm sure there were others, but none... I mean, obviously, At the Gates made the most out of their name since then. They're the biggest name that came out of this. But I guess we were among the first. I'm not sure about the first, though.
How did you get into metal, and what were your influences back then?
Okay, so I was about 10 years old when I discovered metal, and for me, it was a gradual process. I started. Finding songs that I liked, and I never put them together as now I like this type of music. I'd never thought of it that way. For me, it was just a matter of finding the music that you like, and then after a while I realized, oh wow, I'm listening to a lot of the same type of music, and then I realized what I was doing. But it took me a little while. But that's when I started listening to Kiss. Except Judas Priest, those types of bands, Motley Crue, Twisted Sister was a huge influence for me for many, many, many years. Still is to this day, actually. So that's where I started, and that's in the beginning, those were my influences. But when I started going to, I don't know, it's called high school. I guess it's some kind of high school. In Sweden, we have a different school system, but from when you're 15, the year that you turn 16. That's when you start if you want to, you can start a 3-year or 2 or 3 year education. And that's when I met all of these people, the people from At the Gates. Anders Ivers from he played with me in Sermon and Loath and in Tiamat afterwards. And he played also now with Dark Tranquility. We went to the same class even for 3 years. So that's how I got into the more extreme type of music. Also that I found a lot of friends in these other bands, because I had just started playing in a band maybe a year or two before that. So I wasn't really that wasn't really something I was heavily into until that point, basically, I guess. So that turning point for me definitely was when I was about 16, 17 years old, started in this school, and met a lot of like-minded people, I guess you could say.
And you always were not only a listener, but also somebody who played an instrument from young age, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah. I played actually trombone for 4 years before I started playing guitar. And this was from I was 10 till I was 14. And that's the whole evolution process for me, was when I realized that the type of music I'm listening to, the type of music I enjoy, they don't have any trombone, they don't have any brass band or anything like that. So I started looking into playing guitar, and that's when I was 14 when I started playing guitar. And that's basically when I was a part of the first band. And from that point on, we started playing together, me and my friends back then. But it wasn't until a couple of years later when I met the other guys that I became more of something really intentional.
All right, so there was a moment in time that you could, end up playing either with In Flames or Dark Tranquility.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I wouldn't say for sure. Probably not Dark Tranquility, because they were all friends since high school. They grew up together, all of them. But I'm guessing maybe In Flames, it might have been a chance if I was, if I had more Maybe if I was a better guitar player to begin with, but also if I had if I was less stubborn, I guess. I always wanted to have things my way. I was always the main songwriter for every band that I've been in, basically, and I think that's why Jesper also wanted to start In Flames, because he had his vision of what he wanted to do, and there was not room for 5 other strong minds in that vision. So I guess that's how it started for him too. So I'm not sure. I mean, it probably. I don't think I would have been ready for a band like that at that time. Mentally, certainly not, because I was going. Like when I quit Ceremonial Oath was the same year as Jesper formed In Flames. But I wanted to play heavy metal back then. I also wanted to play extreme death metal, which I did with a band called Crystal Age for a couple of years. But I was never into the melodic death metal thing as much. I liked the melodies, but I liked the heavy metal aspect of it much more.
You and Jesper, before In Flames, you were a team, or that is not the case?
Oh no, he played in Ceremonial Oath with us. That's why I started with Ceremonial Oath in 1990. Actually, we had a band called Desecrator, and it was about the time when Jesper joined us that we changed the name to Ceremonial Oath, because another British band had just released an album in 1990 from a band called Desecrator. So we can have the same name as another band. So that's when he started playing with me, and then he played in Ceremonial Oath until I left the band, and about 6 months later he left the band as well, I think, or maybe a year later. I don't remember exactly, but so that's how we met each other for the first time.
Okay, so in what moment Hammerfall as a project comes in? You played death metal, or you just said that you wanted to play heavy metal, but how come Hammerfall as a project comes together? Why? How? And of course we do.
Well, the thing was, I was in Ceremonial Oath, and I was writing, I guess 80% of the music or something like that. The music was going in the direction of more heavy metal with screaming vocals, and that's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something like a real heavy metal band, even if it was 93. And like you said earlier, the music scene was way different. Heavy metal was in the freezer, I believe you said, and that was a pretty good way of describing it, actually, because that's what it felt like, But I didn't really care about that, because I wanted to play the music I wanted to play. It's always been the same with me. I'm a bit strong-willed, I guess, strong-headed, I guess you could say. Stubborn is another good word for it. So things like that, it didn't really matter to me. So that's. But I also was realistic enough to understand that even though I had formed Hammerfall, we were playing. We didn't do all that much. There wasn't that much to do for a band like that, of that type. We didn't really think that was going to get us anywhere. And I also still had the passion for the technical, brutal death metal that I really liked, the fast death metal kind of stuff that we played in Crystal Age. And so I kept Hammerfall and Crystal Age going at the same time. But basically what it was for me was that Hammerfall, the type of heavy metal, or let's put it this way, the influences that I got from writing the music of Hammerfall were a lot of the same influences for Ceremonial Oath or Crystal Age. I've never stopped listening to the music I started once. I'm that kind of person. If I really like something, I never stop liking it. If I really love it, it's never going to go away from me. And that was the same with heavy metal. Even if I was playing technical death metal or much more aggressive style of music, my main source of inspiration always came from the heavy metal foundation that I grew up with. Of course, I added other bands to it as well. Bands like Slayer and Morbid Angel and Pestilence and stuff like that. But and Possessed, of course, and Death, obviously. Bands like that. But heavy metal was also a big part of the mix, even if I was writing different music. But with Hammerfall, I realized, okay, I want to play heavy metal on the side. I really want to do this, so I'm going to do it no matter what. And that's why I kept both bands going for a while. And then Crystal Age sort of just fizzled out. I mean, we never said, all right, let's not play anymore. Now, band's over. We never said that. We recorded an album, but it took so long for the album to actually come out that we all lost interest. And by that time, I already had Hammerfall. I think by that time, Joachim was in the band already. I think maybe it was overlapping by a couple of months or not. But we're talking now early '96. So from that point on, I knew that okay, I'm done with death metal now. I love playing it, but this is what I really want to do. I mean, it has been what I wanted to do since I was a kid. So it was an easy thing to do. But having said that, with Hammerfall, nobody ever expected anything out of this. You have to understand that we didn't see a future for this. We just did it because we loved to play heavy metal music. There was never any 20 years from now we're going to release 11 albums, we're going to sit here or whatever. I never thought of it that way. I didn't think of anything other than I want to play the music that I love. Basically, that's what it was.
Okay, and who were your partners in crime?
From the very beginning, it was just me. I remember because I was really mad and angry at the Ceremonial Oath guys because they basically told me either you quit or you're fired. And I was really mad because I saw it as my band, not in the sense that I decide everything, but in the sense that since I was writing all the music, or most of it anyway, all the lyrics, I was singing, lead guitar playing, and guitar as well, of course. It felt like I was thrown out of my own band, basically. And I was really pissed at the guys because there was a difference of opinion where Ceremonial Oath musically were supposed to go in what direction we're supposed to go in. I was going one direction, the other guys were going in another direction. So it's kind of now looking back at it, of course, it's the obvious thing to do, but I still was really hurt, because these were my friends. We grew up together in the last couple of years. So anyway. When Hammerfall was formed, I played with some friends, and I broke my arm actually in just in a stupid accident. And I was gone I couldn't play guitar for about 6 months. And during that time, that's when I met Frederick, who is bass player of Hammerfall right now. He was also in this band called Crystal Age. So that's how we started playing together. And then when I got better and I could start playing again, Jesper was also interested in joining me in Hammerfall because I asked him already after when I quit Ceremonial Oath, do you want to play with melodic metal with me? Because I knew he was one of the very few people I knew that really liked it, But he said, okay, I have In Flames now. He just started that one. I have also Ceremonial Oath. But once he was out of Ceremonial Oath, he was free for Hammerfall. So that's how it started with him and me. I already had written some songs, and we started writing songs together from that point on, and played live a couple of times. We had people in the band. Basically, the ones we asked to be in the band were people that we knew also liked melodic metal and weren't afraid to admit it, because everybody didn't do that back in those days. So we had Mika Stanne on vocals. From Dark Tranquility. And we also had, the bass player in the beginning was Johan from In Flames, and the guitar player was Niklas Sundin from Dark Tranquility.
So I remember everything was extreme metal, as we were mentioning back then. And when Hammerfall came out through Nuclear Blast, basically a death metal record label at that time, this was a release which was offered to hard music listeners, to underground metalheads. The magic of that is that the community, that extreme metal community, embraced and praised Hammerfall Glory to the Brave and made it one of the top selling CDs in Nuclear Blast, and also for underground metal in general. So a few months later, there were other melodic bands everywhere. So we think Hammerfall also helped catalyze a paradigm change in the industry. Is this accurate? What are your reflections about it?
Yeah. I mean, it's easy for me to sit here now 22 years later and say, well, we did this and we did that. But the only thing we really did was believe in ourselves and the music that we played. And we didn't really listen to anybody else's opinion about that. And that's why Hammerfall sounds the way it does in the beginning, because we absolutely loved the music we were playing. But we didn't have any ambitions like to tour the world or anything. Even when we had the record deal, the first record deal that we got was with a Dutch label called Vic Records. and this was a really small label. We were just happy to record an album, basically. And that's so Glory to the Brave was actually recorded for Vic Records. But before the album was released, Nuclear Blast found out about it, wanted to license it, which they did for the first 30,000 copies or whatever it was, I don't remember, because they believed in it. They thought it was a fun thing to do as well. But again, Hammerfall, the members had no ambitions. Yeah, we had no plans on world domination or anything like that.
And after the 30,000 copies, what happened?
Well, then they signed us, or sort of bought Hammerfall from Big Records. They bought the rights to Glory to the Brave. And when I say they bought it, I mean Hammerfall bought it, because it's always like that where labels, you get they pay the money, but it comes out of your advance later. So I guess you could say we bought ourselves. But after that, we were a Nuclear Blast band for 17 years, I believe.
Bien, amigos, como les habíamos dicho, hemos dividido en 3 partes esta entrevista. Este es el final de la primera. Nos escuchamos en la segunda.